What's going on, my pretty pandas? It's your huggable hipster here. Welcome back to another podcast of the Casual Nerd. I'm really happy that I'm doing these podcasts. They're so chill. I absolutely love it. Honestly, like, I don't have to turn the camera on. I can just turn my mic on and talk to you guys. So just as a heads up, if you guys aren't already, be sure to go to my Patreon, and if you want to suggest topics or things to talk about, whatever it may be, for any of my videos, including these podcasts, The Casual Nerd, it is only $3 a month to do so. And I will have that as one of the first links that you see in the description box. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about having more people suggest topics, because like, I try to make my content as reasonably priced as I can, because I have so many I have so many tiers on my Patreon to fit any kind of budget. So I'm pretty sure if you guys look through there, you'll find something that meets your wants and desires, honey. Also, a little side note, if you guys hear a humming in the background, that is my heater. It is very cold. It is cold in my room. It's actually warming up pretty nicely, so I might shut it off, but I like to keep it right next to, like, the heater, right very close to my chair, since I don't want to heat up the entire room. I just want to heat up where I'm sitting. So let's get into today's topic, which was sent in by Peter Turner. Thank you so much, Peter, for sending in this topic. And he said on the community page, and he asks, now you finished RDR2, Red Dead Redemption 2, do you find the gameplay of a linear story where your path is set out and you just go from challenge to challenge, or the freedom of an open world game that you can play however you like, tell your own story? With the popularity of open world games, do you think that more linear games will eventually die out? Okay, this is a really interesting topic. I'm really glad that Peter asked this. Thank you so much, Peter, for asking this question. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my favorite games now. It's on my top 5 list, because we got Resident Evil as number 1, The Evil Within, Red Dead Redemption 2, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Outlast. So honestly, this game, with how it's constructed as such an open world dynamic and such an open world landscape of not just being able to choose your own missions, but being able to have the freedom to do different things like a human would. You know, it's not very set in stone, your path. And there are multiple endings actually to Red Dead Redemption 2 that I found out, where you have a true ending, you have a secret ending, and you have a bad ending, which apparently I found out the bad ending was that Micah ends up killing you as you're trying to find Dutch's chest. So that's that's a bit of a bummer. And then the secret ending, by the way, spoilers. Sorry, hashtag for anybody who has not played Red Dead Redemption 2, I apologize. But this does contain spoilers, so watch yourselves. And the secret ending was actually, I think, one in the epilogue, where you can actually kill Micah, which is a breath of fresh air, because I absolutely hated Micah. To make a long point a little bit shorter, I do feel like a lot of these kinds of games where you have different side missions will be more fruitful, for lack of a better term, in the newer games. But I also think that gaming companies like to save money and they don't really like to create these open worlds, because they are very, very expensive to create. They are very expensive. The thing is, with open worlds, you have to create the story around the open world. It is a very complicated task to create an open world that not only has a good story, but it has immersive characters, that it has good gameplay, it's not glitchy, because you're just asking for trouble when you create an open world map that you can just go anywhere and anything can happen. The algorithm has to be literally smarter than you, to say in a very dumbed down version. But the thing is that, like, you are creating something that has to outthink the person. Like, it has to be 2 steps ahead of the player every single time. So in the case of Red Dead Redemption 2, you have a game here that is so incredibly smart that each decision that you make, each move that you made, is already preemptively thought out by the game. So let's say you're going to be doing everything with high honor instead of being like a renegade rebel cowboy. This game has already thought out all the moves before you made them. So if you're going to be doing missions and you're going to be doing all of like the ones where you save people and bring people their lost objects and all that kind of thing, you are literally saying that, hey, I'm doing this, but the game already knows that you're going to be doing it by the fact that you're doing the missions. So there's so much that you could do. This is so much more room for activities in this game, I feel. And with this, I feel like there's a lot of potential for there to be more games like this, especially with Resident Evil, the 8th game. If that would be an open world, oh, honey, oh my god. Oh, if that would be, listen, if the 8th Resident Evil game, not that it will be, because we don't want another experiment on our hands like we did with the 6th game of Resident Evil, but if the 8th game ended up being an open world, oh my god, that would be crazy. That would take eons to complete, but it would be crazy nonetheless. Like, I feel like an open world Resident Evil game, or even an open world Outlast game, that might be something that that could be looked into, because I feel like an open world Outlast game could prove to be very fruitful, and Red Barrels would do well with it, I think, because you have so much room for potential with an open world Outlast game, because you can explore so many things. There could be so many more mysteries to solve. There could be so many more puzzles, a lot more spoopy things, to say the least, because I feel like, and you know, no offense to the creators, but I feel like Outlast 2 was somewhat of a disappointment, because and I'm saying this from the perspective of someone who has read the comics, who has read everything, because it wasn't a disappointment for me. It was probably a disappointment for a lot of people, because you know, a lot of people have not read the comics. A lot of people have not dove really deep into the lore and the mythology of the game and reading the content behind it. Unless you read the comic books from the Outlast series, there is no possible way to understand the entire plot line and why they did the things that they did with the second Outlast game. So in looking at something, let's say I had never heard of the Outlast comic series. Let's say I had never heard of any of that stuff and I just went into it playing it completely blind. You would think that it's complete crap, wouldn't you? Because you're seeing the first game, you're seeing Whistleblower. Those were two absolutely incredible games, and then without reading the comics, you don't really understand or grasp the idea of why they did the second game the way they did it. So I understand why they did it. You know, I'm not going to give any spoilers here because I think you guys should read the comics for yourself. But I understand fully why they did the things that they did in the second game. And personally, I don't know if this is the way it was intended, but I feel like the light at the end of the game for Outlast 2 was a bout of mind control, to be honest. I feel like it was the Murkoff Corporation trying to control the person, you know, whether it be through the fact that the baby was an illusion at the end of the game, or maybe the wife was really alive and they maybe drugged her or something like that. I don't know, but that's just my theory on it. And I told you, we're going to bounce around from topic to topic. Oh my god, I get on so many tangents because I'll talk to one thing and it'll lead to another. But yeah, Outlast would probably make a very good open world game. I think to get back to the question more so, there is so much potential for more open world games like Red Dead Redemption 2. I just think it comes down to the cost of making it, number one. Number two, finding people who are going to be devoted enough to make an open world concept for not just a horror game, but any kind of game. Because, like I said, doing an open world is very complicated, it's very difficult. The algorithm has to be 10 steps ahead of you, the player, and you have to grasp the concept of how big of a story it's going to be. So let's say you're doing an open world for Resident Evil, it'll take probably a good 2.5 to 3 years to complete, because if you're doing an open world Resident Evil, you not only have to add more of the story in different sections, and by sections I mean different avenues that you could go with how the game might end. There might be multiple endings, there might be different things that you can do by way of adventures and side missions and all that kind of thing. If it's built the same way as Red Dead Redemption 2, it would be a long ass game. Like, that's the thing. If you are creating an open world for Resident Evil, that would be a very long game. If you're creating an open world for Outlast, that would be a tremendously long game. Think about the psychological nuances that go on there, and just everything that it would take to make that kind of situation not only aesthetically pleasing for the player in terms of the story and how it's developed, but in the voice acting and the different story and plot lines. So you have to make sure that everything is cohesively woven together in such a way that the story still makes sense. I mean, let's think about this for a second. In open world Evil Within, Tango Gameworks, get on that, please. I would love to see an open world Evil Within. I would love to see that. Also, can we spill some tea for a second? Can they just get rid of the second Evil Within game and just redo it and say, oops, we made a big mistake, and just start over? Honestly, part of me has a love-hate relationship with the second Evil Within game, because part of me loves it for the way the graphics are done, the amount of work that was put into it, but another part of me absolutely hates it because it did not follow the original plot line of the Evil Within, the first game, and it pisses me off to no end, because as someone who writes every single day, who is a published author, and who makes basically her living off of writing and editing, it is so mind-numbingly just, I can't even explain to you guys the amount of frustration I had whenever I was playing. Look at the second game, completely unrelated. There are some things that are related, like, like STEM, the continuation, all that kind of stuff. But if you just play the first game without playing all the DLCs and then go into the second game, you're gonna be really irritated. Because my best recommendation to you, if you are looking to play The Evil Within, number one, brace yourself, because it's a long-ass game. Seriously, it is a very long game, and something that you need to be mentally prepared for, because you will die a lot. You will die so much. It is ridiculous, especially with the box head, which is also called the Executioner. One of my favorite characters in the game. You will learn to love that character, but you will also hate him at first because of how much of a bastard he is. Now, after you've played the first game, I would suggest playing the DLCs. First, play the Executioner, because that is a heart-wrenching story that you will absolutely love by the end of it. It's very good because it gives this whole different perspective of the Executioner, aka the box head, aka the lover of the pyramid head from Silent Hill. And then after that, I would dive into the assignment and then the consequence, because the assignment is the next DLC, and just be warned, there are only 2 chapters, and then in the consequence there's only 2 chapters, but they're $2 each, which, I mean, for that kind of stuff, it's a steal. It continues the story, and it goes further into the concept of STEM. It goes further into the concept and the story, actually, of Julia Kidman, the renegade the cop from the Evil Within, and she is one of the best characters. She is one of the most well-versed characters and well-thought-out characters, in my opinion at least, besides Sebastian Castellanos and Ruvik. But be prepared, because it's going to also take you through a hefty bit of a ride as well. It continues the story in ways that I can't even explain, titillate my fancy. It's very, very good. And Bethesda, you really need to step up your game and make a third one. And there is no way in hell that they're not going to make a third one after that ending that they gave us. But yeah, that's a very long rant that I had on The Evil Within. But yeah, I just feel like they need to completely continue the storyline of Leslie and Ruvik. Even though Ruvik is dead, I feel like he still lives on in Leslie. But yeah, to continue on to a little bit more, because I had another thought on the linear gameplay versus the open world gameplay. I feel like there is something to be said for linear gameplay, considering the fact that not too many people enjoy an open world where you have a lot of free time and a lot of room for activities. Like, not too many people enjoy that, where you can literally do anything you want in the game, because it takes hours upon hours, and no offense, but people do not have that kind of time or that kind of attention span to play a very vast open world like that. And I really do mean no offense, because there are a lot of people who just like a very linear concept. You fight zombos, you do the story, bit bam boom, all that kind of thing, and you just go from point A to point slay, and that's it. And then there are some people who like to just really take their time with the game, and those are the kind of people who are really going to enjoy an open world game. And being one of those people, I feel like it might do well, because I'm thinking of examples of different games like Resident Evil or Outlast or The Evil Within. I feel like some of them might do well as open worlds, but it is a big risk, not only financially you're already giving yourself a hefty risk by, you know, going into that kind of thing, but you also really have to think about the story. And that's the biggest thing for me. How are you going to continue this story in an open world where it makes sense, not only linearly, is that even a word, linearly? Not only in a linear construct, but with the side missions and with the main story and with everything that you have to do within the actual plot line of the game. Like, there's just so much that has to be accounted for. And not just that, NPCs, what kind of dialogue are you gonna give them? What kind of NPCs would be actually coherent and well fitted to the storyline of the game to make an open world concept actually work with these kinds of games? Because Red Dead Redemption 2 is not a horror game, so I feel like it goes well as a open world. You have more room to put little horror-ish aspects to it, but with a horror title as big as, let's say, Resident Evil, you really don't have room to joke around, because Resident Evil fans will slit a throat. Resident Evil fans are diehard. Like, take this from someone who is a diehard Resident Evil fan. If you mess up the story, you mess up our life. I mean, I can see Alien Isolation being an open world. I can totally see Alien Isolation being an open world. But you can take it for what it is. At the end of the day, you know, Alien Isolation, you know, any kind of Resident Evil game, whether it be, you know, as an experiment, people can do like an open world beta of Resident Evil 6, maybe? I don't know, but it's something to think about. I feel as if there is so many things that are happening within the gaming industry right now that it's so early to even say what kind of games would be good as open worlds, because any game can be an open world game if the right amount of work is put into it. And you know, not only if the right amount of work is put into it, but if the storyline isn't scoffed off. You know, that's just a major thing for me, is the storyline. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and if you guys want to suggest topics, please go to my Patreon. It's only $3 a month to suggest topics. But yeah, I will talk to you guys in the next podcast on Saturday. If you guys like my face or my voice, what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below, because I make videos every weekday and a podcast every Saturday. Stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will talk to you all in Monday's video. Peace.